Welcome to the Country Club podcast, but not the kind with dress codes and tea times. This is a different kind of country club, one where country living meets real estate, community, and adventure. I'm your host, Diana Cassidy-Bush, and your trusted guide to navigating life beyond the city limits. Whether you're looking to plant roots in a small town, find the perfect recreational escape, or make smart investments in rural properties, this podcast is for you. Because in real estate and in life, it's more than just about buying property. It's about making the right plan, seizing opportunities, and building a future you love. Welcome to the Country Club, where home, community, and opportunity come together. Welcome back to the Country Club podcast and part 2 of my conversation with Kara Enright. If you joined us for part 1, you heard about Kara's roots in the agricultural industry and the early foundation that shaped both her life and her business. In this episode, we're shifting into what the Enrights have built, from creating a recognized beef brand to co-branding with restaurants, to launching a farm store, hosting crop circle dinners, and developing locally made products. Kara has taken a traditional farming model and expanded it in ways that are both creative and strategic. This is where agriculture meets entrepreneurship. This part of the conversation is all about innovation, diversification, and what it really looks like to evolve, not just survive, but to grow. Let's get into part 2 with Kara Enright. Okay, next, let's talk about acquiring an established abattoir.
Yes. When we first started direct marketing, we had no real desire to own and operate an abattoir, but we had always said that at some point we may have to. We may just outgrow the local abattoirs and have to have our own, or have the ability to make different products and stuff that our consumers were looking for. So when COVID came, the abattoir that we were working with was just super swamped. They were really busy. Our business basically went from a lot of B2B to a lot of B2C, a lot to direct consumers. And that increases the workload significantly, because instead of taking, 10-pound bags of ground, now we're putting that 10 pounds into 10 1-pound packages. And so it just increases the time required for processing each animal. And so anyways, they could only do so much, which was harvesting less animals than what we were harvesting prior to COVID. And so we knew that at some point, they had said, okay, we can only harvest so many animals a week for you. And then we just don't have the capacity to do anymore. So we knew when we hit that point that we would have to look at our options and kind of decide what we want to do if we want to keep growing. But we didn't expect it to happen quite so quickly. So when COVID happened and that, we had to really decide, okay, what do we want to do? So we were just kind of looking at all of our options, how do we want to handle this to be able to continue to harvest our animals, because we had, set up a supply chain that we had animals to be harvested so many a week. And so if we couldn't get that done, then obviously that was a major problem for our business. And during that time, we were looking at, do we build some sort of cutting and packaging facility of our own where we bring them in and package them ourselves, the sides of beef. But then Quinns meats came for sale, and we had Quinns making some of our further processed products because they had smokers and stuff. So they were making some jerky and bologna and stuff for us. So we were familiar with the business somewhat, and it came for sale. And I said to Gerald, maybe we should just go look at that. And he was like, okay. So made the appointment, met with the owner, and went and had a look. And so we did the tour, and he took us through everything, and it was a good size. It had everything that we needed, right through to being able to further process our product in a little retail store. And we got back in the car after we had finished touring, and we were sitting out front of it. And I said to Gerald, so what do you think? And he goes, I think we just bought an abattoir, didn't we? I'm like, yep. And from there, it was history.
It's funny how you just know, right?
Yeah, so he was like,
Yeah.
"I could just tell when you were going through that we were buying the Abattoir." So, yeah, from there, it we just then ended up we purchased the Abattoir, and that was a huge, huge, gigantic learning curve for us. We went
Yeah.
from, we had a few staff on the farm that helped us, a couple days a week, but it wasn't it wasn't anything in comparison to having, 20 staff all the time that you were
Yeah.
managing, and not only learning how to like manage and run the business, but also learning how all the different OMAFRA regulations and everything that we needed to keep everything running smoothly with the abattoir. So it was a big learning curve. The first 3 months, Brian, the owner, was amazing. He stayed on with us and helped, guide me through and teach me as much about the abattoir business as quickly as possible. And that was super helpful. And he still was available for phone calls and whatever emergency I need yous after that kind of thing. So that was great. But we eventually kind of figured it out and got into our groove, and we were harvesting not only our animals, but of course everyone else's, like local farmers as well. So they had their regular customers set up. So we continued to process all the other farmers' animals that they had, booked, and continued to rebook all of those, but we also slotted in all of Enright stuff. So it it was COVID, and if you remember during COVID, everyone thought that they were going to starve to death, really. Like it was
Yeah.
very a lot of the time different products were available in the grocery stores and the shelves or whatever, because I don't
Yeah.
even exactly know why, but they consumer went to, the smaller independent shops a lot more, into the farmers, and actually that was amazing. And,
Yeah.
if there was one thing that COVID did, is that it really showed you who is there for your community, and that was like your smaller shops, right? Like the butcher
Yeah.
shops, we still worked every day, where farmers still kept farming, so we were never
Yeah.
without food on the shelves, and the support from the locals was great. It's unfortunate that so quickly that turned again and people went back to
Oh,
like
really?
the bigger boxes. I found that, like, yeah, it just, as COVID kind of became not an issue, then people, I found, shifted back their buying habits to like
I
what they
see.
were. So yeah,
Do
not
you
all
think
of
that
them.
the buy local and the buy Canadian movement has had any impact
Yeah,
on that thought?
it has had some, but the direct to consumer, like our direct to consumer sales, was highest during the lockdown of COVID. And
Right.
I don't know if that was because people were at home and had nothing else to do other than cook, and they had the time to like prepare all their meals, or what the
Yeah.
driving factor was, but it definitely was highest during then. It would be nice if, we could, even come back
Find a
closer
happy
to that.
medium.
Yeah, yeah, that's right,
Yeah.
closer to
Yeah.
that. But anyways, yeah, so the abattoir was going great, and we just kind of found like it was a lot of time and effort was put into training young butchers, so training the next generation of butchers, because when we took over the abattoir, the four main butchers on the block were all baby boomers. So they were all like retirement age. And
Mhm.
there wasn't any like next generation coming in. So we started training, men and women. So whoever wanted to learn how to become a butcher, of course, you had to start in, packaging and that sort of thing, and just figure out if you were, a good fit for our team. But basically, you were made aware, like, if you want to learn something in this business, you have, and you work hard and you fit in with our team, like, you share the same values, then we'll teach you whatever you want to learn. If you want to be a breaking butcher, you want to learn how to do the smoking, make the sausages, whatever it is, we'll teach you, if you prove that you share the same values as us, and you're fit in well with our team. So that's the strategy that we took, and we created a really awesome young team of butchers, which
Oh, cool.
I'm super proud of. Like,
Yeah.
we did a lot of, our butcher average age now is quite young. I don't know what the average is, but we have butchers that range from like 23 or 24, around there, up to our oldest is 50. But then it's like 45 and 30, and so, yeah, they're quite a bit younger, which is
That's
nice. That
awesome.
was our goal. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of things we could get into around the abattoir.
But yeah,
Um, yeah, for sure. You've had
so
your, lots of learning and changes and but adapting too at the same time, like you've really adapted to, the circumstances that were handed to you, so kudos to you
yeah,
guys.
I should mention, as most people know, that the abattoir burnt, and it was a complete loss in 2024, in June of 2024. So that was, of course, like, it
Devastating.
was, yes, very
Yeah.
devastating.
Mhm.
And, at the time, we were just, it was, I don't know, I'd never experienced fire before, so I guess it impacts everyone differently, but it was pretty devastating. However,
Mhm.
I'm happy to say that our team was awesome, and within 1 week, we only didn't supply beef to our customers for 1 week after the
Wow.
fire. We missed 1 week worth, and that was basically because we needed time for the carcasses to age. So we pivoted, and the local abattoirs were really good to help us, get cattle harvested right away. And um, so we're able to, like, we rent a space out of, the abattoir here in Tweed, Palmatiers, once a or twice a week, and our butchers go in there, and they're really great to help us just have a space. So we go in when they're not using it. We do all of our cutting and packaging and process all our meat there, and then we're able to still continue to supply our customers. So that allowed us to keep Enright Cattle Company going, which was awesome, and we're super grateful for that. We're also excited because we're working on rebuilding, so our
Yeah.
plans are coming together to rebuild after the fire, and we'll be able to rebuild here at Tweed. So
Mhm.
we'll be closer to home, which is nice for us.
Yes.
It's kind of sad because we had great customers down at Yarker, and our butcher shop was, I know, very dominant space in their area for going to get meat. So they relied on us, and we relied on them. So that's sad, but we are excited about having a space here in Tweed that we can call home base, and we'll be able to create all the products that we were creating at Quinns, and maybe even some new ones, and hopefully some of those customers will come up from Yorker and visit us, and
Yeah,
hopefully have some new customers from the locals. So
absolutely. I
mhm.
can't wait to see how that's gonna turn out. That's exciting.
Yeah.
One of the most recent products that you've added was locally made tallow products that are being made right here in town. That's another amazing way of using, part of the, byproducts of the cattle on the farm.
So just like going back to how our philosophy was to utilize as much as possible, the one part that we were throwing out consistently was the kidney fat. And so we were like, well, what can we do with this? It seems like such a waste. So we started having it rendered and playing around with different products that it could make. So currently we make tallow candles and tallow soap bars. We've just recently added the tallow liquid soap, which is really quite nice because people like the pumpers versus like the bars.
Yeah,
And hand balm, which is really great in the winter. People are using it all over their bodies, though. We call it hand balm, but you can use it everywhere. People use it on their face and everything. And we're working on a liquid, like, lotion kind of thing. So like a towel liquid lotion, so something that would be pumpable. And we also have it for cooking. So we render it, and
awesome.
then you can use it, like, it replaces, whatever you would use for oil or butter. Like, it would replace, like, all of that stuff. So for example, in the summer, if you're cooking on, like, your flat top, and you want to put some oil on that, you can put tallow. We've got some tallow for cooking as well, and we're just working on different containers that would be a good presentation for the cooking tallow, just to keep it, like, a little bit handier. So we're excited about a few different experiments. We're working with them right now. So those are coming soon.
Awesome.
But yeah, it was just lots of different ideas. Tallow is actually a pretty amazing product. Even when you're just, like, rendering it down, your hands feel so awesome
Oh,
after working with it. So yeah.
that's amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah. especially when you're working outdoors, your hands get, pretty beat up, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, I know that you are not only a very busy farmer and business woman, mother, wife, you're very committed to the agricultural industry. I'm sure you're sort of very in touch with where it's all going and what's happening. Where do you see opportunity in agriculture right now?
There is a lot of innovation happening in agriculture right now. So I think that there's opportunity in all the different commodities. If just even being at, the conference last week and looking at all the automation, um, it's really, I think that people don't think of innovation in agriculture, but it is there. And I think that agriculture is really quick adopters of it. So there's, robots and automation coming in all different parts of the ag industry that you wouldn't expect, and it's pretty exciting. It's stuff that's going to help improve efficiency. It's going to reduce labor requirements and ultimately increase production. So that's good because
Amazing.
there's less farmers, and we have to feed the same or more people. So I think there's lots of opportunity there.
Awesome. Well, that
Mhm.
helps with some of the challenges that are involved with farming as well, being such a labor intensive traditionally
Mhm.
industry. Just
Yeah.
reducing your reliance on labor. So that's
Yeah,
great.
it's there's lots of different things, like, for example, our cattle are now contained on pasture with virtual fencing. So I don't know if you've seen anything about that I've
No.
posted, but yeah, so last year was the first year that we implemented it, but we tried it on one pasture. So you have to have like border fences, so a good perimeter fence, but then interior fencing is not required. And you have to have the perimeter fence because the virtual fencing is only for the mature animals. So you can't use it on calves. So you have to have a perimeter fence just to keep them in. But if you're rotationally grazing cattle or if you're moving them, from field to field in within your farm, and as long as you have a perimeter fence, and this works. So they have a collar on them. The cows have a collar on them, and it's controlled virtually. And basically,
Wow.
you can create borders. So it's kind of like, you have a fence for your dog, the invisible fence or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so as the cow approaches the fence, it gives a beep. And so they learn that once the beeps get, like, closer, like, more frequent, that they're getting closer to the actual line, and then if they actually come to the fence line, they will feel a pulse, just like an electric fence kinda thing, the same thing, and so I wasn't sure how this was gonna work, and I thought, "Well, they're probably just gonna dart, like, how is this
Yeah.
gonna work?" And so but actually they step back, so their first reaction is they step back, and so it's perfect, so they they're very smart. Like, it's crazy how smart they are, but they learn very quickly that the beat means I soon have to stop. And so then they stop. And you don't have to build fences inside there then. If you're trying to like pasture, a hay field that's right beside your cornfield or whatever, you don't have to build a fence in between them. You just draw it on your phone or on your computer,
Oh,
and I
wow.
can move them. I can move them from one spot to the other with my phone. I don't even have to
Oh,
be
that's
there.
amazing.
Yeah, and then it also tracks things like if a cow hasn't moved in a while. So we had just dropped the cattle off at the pasture that we were using this virtual fencing on, and a few hours later, we were looking and we're like, "Why did this one cow not move?" And we're like, "Oh, she must have got her collar off." Because of course we're trying to like figure out how tight to put it. You don't want it too tight, but you don't want it
Yeah.
too loose. And we're like, "Okay, we must have messed that up and not put it like we must have made it too big. It must have come off." Anyway, so we thought we'll go and check. Well, she was calving. So that's why she hadn't moved.
Oh,
So she was
wow.
laying down calving, and so it's good because, they're actually
You don't have to
working
go
on
check the cows anymore.
well, technically, but they're working on things to be able to tell their temperature, so if they're running a fever or if they
Wow.
haven't moved a lot or if they have moved a lot, it can tell you, like, if they're in heat or not, like, so it's going to add in health measures too so that you can monitor your cattle. But yeah, you can
Awesome.
move them from one pasture to the next, but via your phone. So, like, that's
That's
just one
su
example of
Yeah,
it's
that's
crazy
super
the
cool.
innovation that's coming.
That's great.
Mhm.
Your children are very involved with the farming operation, and that's so important. And honestly, it's like refreshing to see because it's like a true family farm. It feels like sometimes that part of our past or heritage has kind of been lost in one generation, which, not everywhere, but it's certainly fewer people. What's exciting you about kind of like the next generation?
The exciting part is that people are more and more wanting to know where their food is coming from and just, like, a little bit of a, I guess, relationship with their farmer. Like, they love just hearing about the things that we do in the background or on a day-to-day basis, and then they're excited to buy food that is produced from that spot or by those people. So, they do like that, and I think that's great and exciting for the next generation because they will have those people to continue to feed. And what's exciting for me is that our kids are interested in it. Corbin is 100% farmer. So even though encourage him to go and look at all the opportunities in the world, he
That's
um
amazing.
he chooses farming like every time. So
That's awesome.
that's great, and yeah, and that, kind of started again at COVID, like, he started raising chickens, meat chickens, that was his project because we didn't have time to, homeschool and lead their work at home, so we had them each choose a project. So Corbin started raising meat chickens, and he had to figure out his cost of production and all that stuff, and Evelyn decided to halter break, 2 heifer twins that we had born that year, and she was, quite a bit younger, but she had not ever witnessed us halter breaking cattle because that quit when Corbin was born. So we had all the equipment there, and so we just showed her, "This is the halter, it's how it goes on. This is a brush and the show stick," and pen them off, and I was like, "Whenever you wanna work with them, you have to have them in the pen so that the mother cow isn't, getting excited about you bothering them or whatever," and she
Mhm.
broke those twins, and watching her develop this relationship with the cattle, those twins was amazing. Like, to this day, now the one twin did pass away unfortunately last year, but they were obviously still in the herd. But to this day, she goes to the fence and calls Holly, Holly, Holly. That's the one twin's name, and she comes over to the fence and you know scratches her and whatever. But I was just watching that as a very young age, that child develop the bond with an animal and just learn how to mutually respect each other. That was pretty cool. And,
Yeah.
she broke those twins and they followed her around wherever and did as she commanded. And then Corbin, he's since grown his business and he, now has purchased a chicken tractor and he raises the maximum chickens that you can legally each year, 300 or whatever it is. And he added turkeys last year too. So now he has his turkeys too. So he has his pasture raised chickens and turkeys that he does in the summer. But ultimately, he runs the whole farm. So with Daryl and I, when we went to the conference last week, we have no concerns. It's pretty amazing because
Yeah.
he gets up, he does all the chores, he gets himself to school, he comes home, does the chores, gets to hockey. Like it's pretty
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, so they're
Absolutely.
pretty involved in it.
That's great. Amazing. Good job.
Thank you.
Kara, thank you so much for joining us today and to share a little bit about your story. Congratulations and a big kudos to you for building an incredible business, um, and continuing to evolve what the family farm can look like. What I loved about this conversation is it shows agriculture isn't fading, it's adapting, it's diversifying, it's innovating. From beef branding to leather goods, from crop circle dinners to tallow products made locally, this is what it looks like when tradition meets vision. If today's episode reminded you of where you come from or sparked an idea about where you're headed, let it sit with you. Thanks so much for listening to the Country Club podcast. And until next time, live well, live intentionally, and never underestimate what's possible when roots run deep. Thanks, Kara.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me at the Country Club today.
I hope our conversation has helped guide your journey. Whether you're looking to plant roots in a small town, find the perfect recreational escape, or invest in rural properties, every situation is unique, and I'm here if you need a trusted resource on your real estate journey. As always, consult with a qualified professional before making any investment decisions. I'm Diana Cassidy-Bush, and I'll see you next time with more conversations about thriving beyond the city limits. Click the follow button for the Country Club podcast with Diana Cassidy-Bush on your favorite podcast platform, and let's start building your future together.